Right, so this is, of course, what has been transpiring at the White House. We just heard from the Indian Prime Minister and also the American President, as the Indian Prime Minister there has been welcomed for the very first time on his first official state visit to the United States of America. And both President Biden and Prime Minister Modi have highlighted the importance of what the India-US equation, of course, means for the 21st century. And if one were to read between the lines in what Biden, in fact, went on to state about strengthening the American relationship with India, one could, of course, sense the importance that America places on strengthening its ties with India, especially in the context of the United States having to counter China's rise. In many ways, this is going to be a relationship that is going to redefine geopolitics of the 21st century. And in some ways, if one were to make sense of what was, in fact, read the subtext of what was said, this is going to be a relationship far more important for the Americans than it is for the Indian side. And it remains to be seen as to how all of this plays out. But to take from what the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said back in 2016 when he visited the United States of America, he had said that we've left behind the hesitation of the past. There is no longer any hesitation of. This is quite clearly one of the most important relationships that the United States has beyond the Atlantic. So the Indian Prime Minister there, flanked by the American President Joe Biden and also First Lady Jill Biden. And one can, of course, look at the camaraderie and the bromance between the two leaders already. And this is now going to be an important and a defining relationship, as we've been reiterating. And also what was said by the American President there just goes on to highlight the importance which the United States places on its bilateral equation with India. And to give us more details about this, we're being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, who's joining us on this broadcast. Now, Siddhant, we just heard, the remarks that were made both by the Indian Prime Minister and the American President Joe Biden there, clearly highlighting the importance that the Americans place on this relationship with India.
Well, Mohammad, first let me give you a ground situation. There is a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. Now the Indian media team is leaving for the Oval Office, where there will be essentially conversations, and we will be present there. And we saw here at the South Lawns of the White House how both the Indian Prime Minister and the US President talked about the convergences and, of course, the personal equation both the leaders have. But one thing that stood out for me was how the entire area was reverberating in patriotic songs, the chants of Indian Prime Minister's name, Modi, Modi, and essentially how the people-to-people relationship forms the substratum of this very strong relationship. If I can show you the visuals behind me, that's the situation on the ground with, of course, a lot of media personnel present, but just behind me now, there are people, of course, waiting to get a glimpse of the Indian Prime Minister, and of course very excited about the entire ceremony that took place. There are many one-liners, I would say, that the Prime Minister has given, and of course the US President saying that welcome Prime Minister to White House. Again, he of course mentioned about Quad as well, about other initiatives that both countries have been essentially forging in terms of defense, critical technologies. Also, now of course the day starts. This was the first event of the day. It will be now followed by much more larger engagement, both at the bilateral level, and then of course the Indian Prime Minister addressing the US Congress as well. So we're leaving for the Oval Office now.
Absolutely indeed, Siddhant. We'll of course come back to you as more details emerge in this story. But this of course is a defining moment in India-America equation, as the American president there pointed out that this is an inflection point. The India-America equation so far, and what happens from here is now going to be remarkably different, both in terms of substance and also in terms of character, because what we are looking at now being stronger bond between Washington and New Delhi. And